Greetings. I don't do many videos. This is rare. I know later today, the primary is going on in Alabama, my home state, and this is a direct plea to anyone that's voting in the contest tomorrow, any registered voters. If you know me, you're my friend, whatever, you need to listen. I've been trying to get my life together. I have read the New Testament. I'm trying to complete the Old Testament. I've never read the Old Testament end to end. I have the New. But from what I know of the New Testament and read, these other people are not practicing Christian values. Rick Santorum, Newt Gingrich, and Mitt Romney, they're all more the same thing. Killing, having our young men overseas, destroying lives, wrecking economies over there, wrecking good people's lives. Kids die. I mean, it's amazing. Our men and women die. It's just bloodshed on both sides, and it's needless. It's pointless. I know in the book of Matthew it talks about, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. Think about that. Think about what Christ would do. Think about that. If you're a Christian, vote for the guy who's practicing what he preaches. I looked at all Obama's church, Ron Paul's church. He's the Baptist church out in Texas. I looked at the Catholic church. So we got two Catholics, a Mormon, and a Baptist. Anyway, I think that they all teach good values. I think that only one of them is practicing what this book says. Here's another. I don't know if you call this a book, but it's the United States Constitution. Ron Paul's the only one that is promoting this. That this is his agenda. You want to know how he's going to vote, how he'll operate? Read this. You can read it. I mean, it's amazing. It's a piece of work. I mean, it's a lot of thought went into this. I'm just grateful that we live in a country that has a constitution. Which, by the way, started with the Patriot Act with George Bush in 9/11. They started stealing our rights, our freedoms, and our personal liberty. He has went through there and began the process, and Obama's finishing the process, which is kind of amazing since he's a constitutional scholar. He actually taught. He was a professor at the University of Chicago. He had a law degree from Harvard, and he has done nothing but rip this document apart. It's amazing. And Santorum, Gingrich, Romney, it'll be more of the same, especially Santorum and Gingrich. They're horrible. I get a couple of magazines sent to me. In addition to my technical magazines, I get some business magazines. One of them I get is Bloomberg. They have a good article on this. This was last year, probably dated August of last year. I hung on to this because it kind of explains what we need, where we're at, and where we're going. Just to show you, the little orange up top here, this is 10 trillion. 10 trillion, right? It's above that now. I mean, we're into the 13, 14, 15 trillion mark. This represents the difference in the coming years of what they call fiscal gap, and that's the revenue coming in versus what our obligations are as far as Social Security and entitlement programs. It won't be there. It will not be there. I promise you. It will not be there, and so many other programs will not be there for the elderly, for the poor, for the infirm, if you elect any of these other people except Ron Paul. Gary Johnson, he's a libertarian candidate. He's pretty good. But I've read all four of these guys. There's a good magazine out there. It's Reason Magazine. They kind of go over what the different beliefs and where they stand on the issues. The one that's in line with Obama financially, as far as the country's finances, is actually Rick Santorum, and he's being labeled this conservative. He's not conservative. He spends every bit as bad as President Obama does and George Bush has. I'm ashamed, and by the way, I'm ashamed I ever voted for George Bush. I picked the lesser of two evils. I still picked evil. I did the same. I'm ashamed of John McCain, the way he's been acting. He's wanting to bomb Syria. It's terrible, absolutely terrible what's going on. But look at their issues. I've studied them. I promise you I've studied them. There's one guy that will balance the budget in 3 years and begin to pay down the debt that you're looking at, and to bring our finances in line so old people will have a Social Security, because it is not going to be there. I'm telling you. I think they're smoking crack or something if they believe that they're on some other planet. Anyway, we need to end these wars. I mean, it's insanity. And if we do go to war, we do it by this book. It says the Congress will declare war, just like they did in World War II. You go to the Congress, you declare war, and the president executes it with a clear mission and brings the troops home. I don't even know what we're doing anymore. I mean, we're already in knee deep in Afghanistan. We got people getting killed every day, and violence is terrible. And I mean, we're going to leave in worse shape than it was then. And we've been there over 10 years. I just found out the other day that they're sending reservists out of Fort Campbell to Bosnia or Kosovo. That was 20 years. We've been there 20 years. You believe that? It blows me away. It absolutely blows me away. And it's bankrupting this country. And here's a good example. I got throwing books up and various visual aids. It's a dime from 1964. It was last year that they had silver. Constitution said gold and silver. We went away from the coinage being of silver, 9% silver. There's $2.50. You could almost buy a gallon of gas for a dime if we just stayed on that standard. It's incredible how the Federal Reserve, speaking of which, wonderful book. This opened my eyes. This was like one of my favorite non-fictions. Probably next to the Bible and another book I'm going to pull up, Art of War. It's an incredible book. It opened my eyes, and even if you don't vote, which God, I pray, I can't imagine anybody that's done that research and knows the issues would vote for anybody other than Ron Paul. But please, at some point, take the time, read this book. It took me, I don't know, probably a week, reading an hour to a night. I'm a slow reader. But it breaks it down in simple terms, and it explains what's going on and the insanity with insanity with the Fed. It's absolutely insane what they allow the Federal Reserve to do. They basically, when they run a deficit, they just print more money. And what that does, and when they print more money, they don't even print money, they just issue credit. And foreign countries like China buy our debt, and they just keep buying it up. And the only ones that make out really are the Wall Street crowd, the Goldman Sachs, Lehman Brothers is gone, but that group of banking. It's amazing. If you ever read In the Fed by Ron Paul, that'll get you started. You'll know what's going on, and you just for pure money reasons, you will never vote for anybody that doesn't want to get rid of this. This is just insanity. I can't stress it enough. Another thing that's breaking us, and this is a good book. You should read this if you get a chance. It's Art of War. I think it's misnamed. It should be called The Art of Peace. Sun Tzu, just from a not from a political standpoint, but from a strategy standpoint. The Art of War. Osama bin Laden, from the grave, is able to do what he's done amazes me. It just amazes me. This should be called The Art of Peace. It teaches lessons in how to avoid war, actually. And we've done everything wrong, and his small group of terrorists has basically bankrupted the most powerful nation ever. I guess we're an empire, really, if you really think about it, and that the world's ever known. And he's bankrupted us and ran our military ragged. We are less safe today than we were 10 years ago when this all started. He would praise what Osama bin Laden, and if we continue down his path, just as his book says, he's won. I thought that they taught this at the War College. I don't know if they take it to heart, and the politicians are just running our military in the ground, and then they chew up our young men, and then they spit them out. And the stories about the VA, it's horrific how they get treated. We got to end this. Enough's enough. Another good book I'd like to point out is The Revolution. It kind of gives an overview of the entire philosophy of Ron Paul. When you read it, it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. I know that I read the Communist Manifesto probably 20 years ago, or longer than that, 25 years ago, when I was in high school. It made sense to a point, but then you realize that, if you take all incentive away, it doesn't work. Well, we are heading down. If you read the Communist Manifesto and you read it, Karl Marx, his whole intent was to destroy the middle class, and that's what we're doing. We're doing it through the Federal Reserve. We're doing it through these wars, and we're doing it by taking personal liberty away, personal freedoms, which is guaranteed by the Constitution. It's ironic that the first black president in the United States, who was also a scholar of the Constitution, was actually a professor, would be the one that just shredded civil rights and shredded what the Constitution meant, personal freedom. I mean, he's just destroyed it. He's continued Bush's attack on it. The NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, 2012. I hope you vote out any senator or congressman that voted yes in that. I couldn't believe that they basically handed him off, at least on paper, a military dictatorship by which he can send troops into your house, never arrest you, have you put to death, tortured, whatever it may be, never charge you with a crime. Now, think about that in the United States, that a sitting president has the power to do that. You never even get a right to jury by trial. I just think it flies in the face of what this book is supposed to do. Ron Paul, he's the closest. It's a book of quotes I have from probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest American that's ever lived, Thomas Jefferson. Amazing man. He wrote the Declaration of Independence. I love his ideas. Really, he thought a lot about the things that he wrote of, and I love this guy. Ron Paul's the closest thing that we have to Jefferson. He's the only one that I see out on the landscape. I guess maybe Gary Johnson, but not as accomplished. A couple other things I just wanted to point out. Ron Paul is not a lawyer. He's not an MBA, which is what we have to choose from. He's a medical doctor. He was OBGYN. He's delivered 4,000 babies. He never took a dime of federal money. He worked with poor, and if he had to do work for free, it was between a doctor and a patient. He's helped bring life into this world. He's helped women. He's a good man. He's been married to the same woman for over 55 years. Think about that. 55 years, same woman. I kind of look up to that. Not a lot of that goes on these days. He's trying to restore what our founding fathers had. He's trying to give you your personal freedom back. He would like to abolish the IRS. One thing I'd like to say about that is, this got me outside the IRS. Well, where will they get the revenue? When you look at the numbers, if we just went back, think about this, if we just went back to 2006 spending, it's not that long ago, we can do it. You could completely abolish the individual income tax for every person in the United States. Just do away with it. Think about what that would do for the economy. Think about the personal liberty it would restore for people that's been put in jail, their property's been confiscated, a whole myriad of things, bad things have happened because of the IRS and their abuses. He would put that back into check. He would preserve the middle class, because if we continue to elect these kind of people that we're electing, we're going to end up with no middle class, because the Fed continues to print money. Inflationary pressure begins to erode the middle class, and you basically have a handful of people that are the uber rich, and then poor, and that's it. That's where we're going. So I don't know what else to do, what else to say. I begged, pleaded, don't make me cry tomorrow. Please, Alabama, wake up, vote for the right guy who follows what you believe in God, the teachings of Christ. He follows the Constitution. He doesn't try to get in your bedroom. He's the only one with an A+ rating on guns. The rest of them don't even come close. And the reason is because he loves the Constitution, Second Amendment. He's the best guy, 100%. I think Romney got a D, Santorum got a B, and Newt Gingrich got a C. It's amazing that gun owners would vote for anybody but Ron Paul. So if you love your guns, low taxes, you want to have Social Security around for the elderly, preserve the middle class, follow Christian values, actually practice what he preaches. He doesn't wear it on his sleeve like Santorum does. He actually practices it. Love your neighbor. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. Think about that. That's what Jesus Christ said. And if you're a Christian and you love your country, there's only one choice. It's Ron Paul. God bless you, and please, please, please do the right thing.